Welcome back to the poker vlog. This is episode number 96, and for this one, I play the highest stakes cash game that I've ever played in Las Vegas. I have live footage from Bellagio, so it's a very special episode for a ton of different reasons. Hope you guys enjoy it. Let's go ahead and get started. From the moment I wake up, the day has a different feel to it. Today, I'll be playing the biggest game that I've ever played in Las Vegas. Driving down the strip, I'm more nervous than usual. I'm going to be playing 100% on my own. I have no idea what the lineup will be, but with the World Series in town, it should be softer than normal. This is my time to take a shot at the highest stakes no limit game that runs consistently in the city, though there are some bigger games running right now. I pull into Bellagio, the poker center of the universe, take a moment outside to prepare myself mentally. I brought 12,000 with me that I'm willing to risk if I need to. It's time to head inside. I make my way over to the poker room. It's absolutely packed. I'm pumped up because for the first time ever, I have permission to film my hole cards here. It's a huge step in the right direction for poker vlogs in general. Bellagio put out signs so I could use my camera, make a video, give insight as to what it's like to play live 10-20. It's an uncapped game. I buy in for 3,000, walk up to the high stakes area, and take my seat. I look around and everybody except for the player on my direct right has way more chips than me, including the 3 seed who has around 40,000 in front of him. My 3,000 might not last for too long, but I can always add on if and when I get more comfortable. As I input the data to start, I tell myself to treat this like any other session and not to think about how much money I'm actually playing for, but it's tough because we're playing for the big bucks. Never been at a table with this much money at it. I just hope that I don't get absolutely torched. Right away I get involved. I pick up ace-queen offsuit in the big blind. The cutoff opens to 80. I can call or 3-bet. I choose to call to close the action. Flop comes king 7-7 rainbow. I check. The cutoff bets 80 again. I don't want to give up that easily. I call. The turn is a 6. I check, cutoff bets 200. I don't want to stick around any longer. I let it go. I also immediately get selected to pay $81 in time for the table. This is not going great. Next, I've got queen jack offsuit on the button. The hijack opens to 60. Seems like a recreational player. I'm in position with a decent hand that I prefer to either fold or 3-bet. The hijack should have a wide range, and he's one of the few people that I feel like I have an edge on, so I 3-bet to 200. The big blind is having none of that. He puts in the cold 4-bet to 600. The hijack folds. I'm not sure if the big blind is doing this light or actually has a strong hand. Seems more likely that he's light and he's trying to take advantage of me. The fact that I'm only in for 3,000 is a clear indicator that I'm not a regular in games this big. It's not worth trying to fight back just yet. I make the fold. I've gotten involved in 2 hands and already I'm down well over 400. Not how I wanted to start. It's important to win a hand early so I can get rid of some of these nerves as quickly as possible. A few hands later, we're dealt 8-7 suited in the hijack. Under the gun +1 limps in. I raise to 80. Cutoff calls, the button, 3-bets to 320. This is the same player who cold 4-bet me in the previous hand. Under the gun +1 folds, it's on me. If you go to the upswing pre-flop chart, look at what we should do when we're in the hijack and we get 3-bet by the button. It says to call with 8-7 suited. It's a decent sized 3-bet though, and we're not that deep, so folding seems reasonable too. It's just that I have a vengeance against this particular player and don't want him thinking that I'm never going to defend when he raises me. I call, the cutoff folds, it's heads up. Flop comes ace-6-5 rainbow with 1 spade. We've got an open ender and a backdoor flush draw. It's a great flop for us. I check, the button down bets to 280. Couldn't be happier to call. I put in the chips and I'm praying for a 4. Unfortunately, that's not what we get. It's a 9. We've got the nuts while playing higher in a 3-bet pot that's already big and our hand is well concealed. There's no better feeling than this. I check, the button doesn't bite. He checks back. The river is a queen. We still have the best hand possible. Can't know for sure if the button will bet, especially after he checked on the previous street. We're gonna have to bet ourselves. The pot is about 1,300. Part of me wants to jam, but I don't want to scare him off. Instead, I bet 1,000. It may still look like I'm trying to buy it. I slide in the chips. The opponent announces a call. We turn over the nuts. The button isn't too happy and slams his cards on the felt. We're up 1,100 and we're feeling great. We've also picked up a yellow bird. After that, we're dealt ace-jack offsuit in the small blind. The hijack opens to 60. The button calls. I put in the 3-bet to 300. The hijack calls. The button folds. We're heads up. The flop comes jack 9-5 with 2 clubs. We've got top. I down bet to 260. The hijack folds. The pot is given to us. We're on a mini roll. Our stack is up to 4,300. At this point, everyone agrees to straddle under the gun for the remainder of the game, so it essentially doubles in size. We're playing 10, 20, 40 uncapped. I was just starting to get comfortable, and that has quickly changed. Another noticeable change is that the player on my direct right leaves is replaced by Dan Harrington. He's the 1995 main event champion. He's an absolute poker legend. I've read 6 of his books, including Harrington on Cash Games Volume 2 about 8 different times. When I was first starting out in 2.5, it took me from being a break-even player to a profitable one, so I owe a lot to Dan. I've always wanted to play against him, and now I get to sit right next to him. He's an incredibly nice guy. Things on the felt are going well. I pick up ace-king offsuit in the hijack. I open to 120. Big blind calls. Who only has about 48,000 in front of him. Yeah, that's a lot. The under the gun straddler calls as well. 3 of us see the flop. It's king 6-5 with 2 hearts. We've got top. The big blind leads into us for 220. Under the gun folds. Feels like we're up against either a set, 2 pair, a king, or a flush or straight draw. I call the 220. It's heads up. The turn is a bad card. It's the queen of hearts. The big blind fires again, this time for 700. This puts me in a very odd spot. The opponent led into 2 other players on the flop. He's betting again once the flush draw gets there. It's hard to imagine he's doing this with absolutely nothing, although I suppose he could have a straight draw. There aren't going to be any good rivers for me necessarily. I could already be drawing dead. Since I haven't seen this player bluff in any other hands and don't exactly know where I'm at, I try to make my life easier by letting my hand go. I fold. We move on to the next hand. I pick up 10-5 of hearts onto the gun in the straddle. Hijack limps in, the cutoff calls. I check. The flop is 10-9 deuce with 2 diamonds and 1 heart. I've got top pair and lead for 80. Both opponents call. The turn is a 7. I slow down and check. The hijack checks. Now the cutoff bets 260. I don't believe that I'm beat yet. I call. The hijack does something that makes no sense to me and puts in a raise to 1,080. If he had a real hand, I don't see how he could check the turn after I checked, so it's a weird spot for him to put in a raise and rep a strong hand. The cutoff flats the raise. I'm confused. I might be ahead, but I can't call and play out of position. I fold. The river is the 8 of diamonds. The hijack shoves. The cutoff snap calls. The hijack has king 5 of diamonds and makes a flush. The cutoff has jack 7 of diamonds for the straight flush, and he wins a massive pot. I'm back down to the stack that I started with. Things haven't gone well since we doubled the stakes. In this one, I pick up jack 10 of diamonds in the cutoff. Dan Harrington opens a 120 in the hijack. I call. The big blind calls. We go 3 ways to the flop. It comes jack 6-6 with 2 hearts. We've got top pair. Both players check. I bet 240. The big blind folds. Dan puts in a raise to 700. It's an incredibly frustrating situation to be in. Dan plays pretty tight, but what the hell is he check raising me with on that board? Shouldn't have many 6s. There's only one combination of pocket jacks that he could have. It's bizarre for him to check an overpair against 2 opponents when 2 hearts are out there. Doesn't make a lot of sense. Feels like he's got a flush draw possibly. I don't want to call and see an overcard or heart on the turn and not know what to do. Dan doesn't have much more. I announce that I'm I don't get snap called, so I'm happy about that. Oh wait. There it is.
Not good for me.
The board runs out with the 7 of diamonds and the 4 of spades. Dan turns over pocket aces.
This is good. That's actually good.
That one stings, but you have to realize Dan only started the hand with about 60 big blinds. That's the equivalent to $120 in 1-2. Although the pot is over $5,000, it's not very much in this game. Just a lot of money to me in my real life. Dan then decides it's time to pick up, but before he does, he's nice enough to talk to the vlog for a bit. This is one of my poker heroes, Dan Harrington. He got me pretty good today with aces.
The usuals.
The usuals.
What can I say?
Anyway, thanks a lot, Dan.
All right.
See you, man.
Good luck.
I was down to 500 after that jack 10 hand, so I add on for 5,000 more, and I'm in for 8,000 total. It's the most that I've ever been into a cash game for. Then I pick up ace 4 diamonds in the hijack and open to 120. Cutoff calls, small blind 3 bets to 380. The action's back on me. Let's see what upswing says to do. According to this chart, when we're facing a 3 bet from the small blind with ace 4 suited, we need to 4 bet it. That's what I do.
Raise.
I make it 1,000. Cutoff folds immediately. Small blind is contemplating what he should do. He tanks for a very long time. Doesn't look extremely comfortable, but he eventually makes the call. I imagine he has a hand like ace king, ace queen, pocket queens, or pocket jacks. Dealer puts out the flop of 10-6 deuce rainbow with 1 diamond. We've got an over and some backdoor possibilities. Small blind checks. I down bet to 900. That's what I do with aces and kings. Those hands are what I'm trying to represent. Small blind continues to look uncomfortable. You can see him there in the black shirt. He adjusts himself quite a bit. He's going through all the options for quite some time, gets his chips out and makes the call. Really feels like he has an ace high hand. I'm not beating any of those, but I don't think he'd be able to call another bet if he doesn't make a pair. The dealer puts out the turn. It's the 7 of spades, basically a complete blank. The opponent checks. I can either shut down or I can go with my gut and apply maximum pressure. I announce a bet.
2,300?
2,300.
My heart is racing. This is by far the biggest bluff that I've ever attempted. The adrenaline's pumping. There's already over 6,000 in the middle. If I get called, the pot will be 8,500. If I lose, I'll have the worst losing session of my entire life. The opponent backhands his cards into the muck. We get the largest bluff through that we've ever made. Going with our instincts pays off huge. We had another 2,000 to our stack. There's 7,600 in front of us, but we're in for piles, so we're still stuck about 400 on the day. The mood has shifted though. Things are looking up. We pick up Jack 5 of diamonds in the small blind. Under the gun plus 1 limps in for 40. Under the gun plus 2 calls. I call for 30 more. The big blind calls. And under the gun checks. We're going 5 ways to the flop. It's Jack 9 4 rainbow. We've got top pair. I check. Checks around to the under the gun plus 2 player. He bets 120. I call. The other players fold. It's heads up. The turn is the deuce. I check. Under the gun plus 2 checks back. The river's a 5. We make 2 pair. It's incredibly unlikely that we're beat, given that the opponent checked back the turn. I put nearly a pot-sized bet out there of 400. I want it to look like I'm bluffing with a misdraw like Queen 10 or 10-8. The opponent thinks it over, then makes the call. We turn over the cards. We have the winner. We've gone from being up 1,300 to being stuck 2,500 to now getting out of the hole entirely, and we're back to having a profitable session. We have over 8,000 on the table in front of us, which is way too big of a percentage of the bankroll. It's time to lock up a win and cash out for the most that I've ever cashed out for. Session's over. I was in for 8,000, which is the most I've ever been in a poker game for before. I cashed out for 82.60, so I booked a $260 win. Not very much for that game, but it was a wild swing for me. I was up 1,300, I think, at the high point, and then I doubled up Dan Harrington, who is a hero of mine in poker, and I was stuck 2,500. Then I pulled off the biggest bluff attempt that I've ever done. Luckily that went through. If it hadn't, this would be a much different episode and I would not be nearly as happy. It did get through though. Then I won that Jack 5 hand. I got unstuck, pretty much immediately picked up because I just had way more money on the table than I was comfortable with. It's also my girlfriend's birthday today. She's coming over. We're gonna get dinner at Prime Steakhouse. It's comped by Bellagio. I just couldn't be happier about this session and this is gonna be one of my favorite videos of all time. With the comps in hand, we head to the steakhouse for the birthday dinner. It's a great atmosphere at Prime. I have an enormous steak and it tastes much, much better after having a winning session. Once dinner ends, we walk out on the patio to watch the fountains one last time before wrapping up an amazing night. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to hit the like and subscribe button because it helps out the channel a ton. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to let me know in the comment section. I want to give a huge thanks to Bellagio for allowing me to film. That was awesome. That's the poker center of the universe, and since I had permission for the first time, I wanted to do something special. That's why I jumped into the 1020 game, and I was able to play with Dan Harrington, the 1995 main event champion. I'm a huge fan of his, so that was something that was really awesome to me. I also put myself out of my comfort zone a little bit, playing higher stakes, and that's when poker's most enjoyable. So I'm probably gonna do something like that every 3 or 4 months. Let me know in the comment section if that's something that you like watching, and I'll try and do a little bit more of it. Hope you guys are all doing well at the World Series. Good luck at the tables, and I'll see you next time.